Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill. How are you, man?
Good. We are not cold, I don't think.
It's a little chilly outside compared to last week, though. Drop in the bucket, I think is the term the kids say.
Well, the inside of my house is warm today.
The same could not be said for us last week, for most of last week. Dude,
So it was wild.
wild. Oh my God. Man, okay.
Did this feel like military again for you?
Did it feel like military again? That's an interesting question. Why do you ask me that?
Well, I mean, there was circumstances where in the military they prepare you to be prepared for what I mean when shit hits the fan. I mean that's part of a lot of the training is like
Yeah.
you need this in your pack and you need to be good to go for this, and it's like you at least based on my I have a lot of family in the military, so I've heard lots of war stories, as they say. But
hmm
supposedly, I mean, that's half of what your job is, to be prepared for that situation. So I just didn't know if you had some of that similar, like, oh man, all right, gotta do this, got this packed away, like that sort of stuff hit you last week at all.
So that's really interesting. I think I don't think it was anything that the military. Man, Mike, it's good to see you.
Hey, Mike.
I hope you're well. I
No,
don't think it was.
No. It's not welcome, Mike. You were mistaken.
It is not welcome, and the reason why we know it's not welcome is because we would have handled it slightly better had we been prepared for it.
Yeah, because Texans are welcoming, and we were not good with that.
Exactly, it makes it through editing because Melissa might just put the no-go on it. I mean, it was really bizarre because I spent way too much time on Monday looking for good morning, Levi.
No, Levi.
Looking for a good morning, Jessica Bonilla. Looking for a battery because for some reason I've been so head down on work stuff. While I knew this was going to be a thing, I didn't really think it was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
I just thought it was going to be cold for a couple of days, not that big of a deal. A little bit of snow, just that kind of like Texas swagger of like, weather doesn't really impact us, kind of like nonsense.
Yeah.
So 2 a.m., Melissa is like waking me up to let me know that Alice is getting in bed with me because the power's out. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it's fine. Wake up in the morning with you. We cancel this thing because neither one of us have power. And I go back to bed. And then wake up and I start looking for this one brand. It's called the Goal Zero. It's like very popular with like camping and all of this stuff. And have been wanting to get one of those for a while for camping. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just go ahead and get one. So that way we can use it to like power a space heater. So I'm calling all these stores. Everything's closed because nothing has power. And I'm still thinking this is just today. This is just today, right? Because like Texas, this doesn't happen in Texas. This is not going to be like tomorrow. It's going to be done, kind of thing. So I spend like 3 or 4 hours like looking for one of these things, trying to find one, and then I talk to my friend who's very knowledgeable about this stuff, and he goes, You're not gonna be able to run a space heater off of that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like I had this moment of being like, because normally I would just be mad. Like, why did I waste this much time looking for this thing? It's not even gonna help me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just had this moment of being like, I should involve my friends sooner who know more about this. Okay, move on, right? Which felt like very kind of like stoic in the moment. So then it was just like, okay, great. Let's now use the fireplace. Well, the fireplace is like rusted shut on like one part of it because it's a very old house and we're renting and she never uses it. So, okay. And so now all of a sudden we can see our breath in the house, right? There's like ice crystals on the inside of the glass. And I'm like, hotel, right? And then I just have this like moment of being like, okay, this is going to be awesome. Like I'm going to have this opportunity to turn this time of like, pressure into something kind of cool because we're just going to go stay in a hotel for one night because once again, this is Texas. It doesn't last multiple days.
Mm-hmm.
So I drive around. I'm looking for this battery. Nothing is open. So then I come home and I grab the girls and I'm like, hey, let's go get some food. And while I've been out driving around, I'd seen some like mom and pop style restaurants. And in a weird moment of like trying to help other people out, I was like, look, I want to go find a mom and pop and not like a chain. right? Because like if a mom and pop is open today, it's because like they're really driven to do it. I would like to reward that. Normal John doesn't care about this. Like normal John wants food and sustenance in his belly, and like that's it. And food is a very loose term at times, right?
Right.
So we get in the car, we drive around, we can't find anything. We end up going to McDonald's because it's the only thing that's open. Because once again, I'm just thinking, hey, some people don't have power, right? Like this is how well I've done at like cutting all media like out of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not hearing about like Austin or snowing in Houston or Galveston and I'm just like, oh, okay, cool, old house, old neighborhood.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? And so now we start looking for a hotel, and it's like 4:00, right? So I just called the Sheraton downtown, thinking once again, not a huge deal, and they're booked out. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This might be a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. Let me cold call some of these. I called probably 15 or so, and everyone is sold out. And then I start calling like Southwest Fort Worth because a friend of mine lives in Benbrook, and they had power. I was like, okay, they're sold out. And I'm like, what are we gonna do? Like there's no rooms available. And then I was like, wait a minute, we're just gonna start driving north, right? Like this is crazy because we'll drive north because there's all the stuff at like 8:20. And if we have to go as far as Denton, then we'll go as far as Denton. But there's all that stuff between Denton, right? Like up by where you live, right? The Speedway, there's a bunch of hotels. Yeah. And I cold knocked and cold called probably 30 hotels, like up and down the 35 corridor trying to find a spot. Can't find a spot. Denton, which is a good 35 minutes away or so, it's the next town up north of our city. Find a hotel room there. It is the last room. It has no TV and has one king-size bed for like $70. So we book it, and it's okay. The next day, like, hey, let's find a hotel closer to home. So we find one in like Northside, which is about half the distance from like where we were. So we're very excited. And Melissa's brother and mom, who lived together, and their power was out. They'd spent the night in their apartment the first night, and they couldn't do it again. So they're like, hey, we got a hotel room at the same hotel. Can we come with you? I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely. I'll come get you. I've got the 4Runner. So we decided to come home, grab clothes, change, all this other stuff. And then we go get them. And then we're driving over to this Motel 6, like in Northside. And we pull up, and the guy walks out. He's like, power just went out. All reservations are canceled. And I'm like, okay, right? The stoic moment of just like, all right, I have zero control over this. So what are we going to do? And now, right, so Monday night, I posted about finding the hotel room, and I got some phone calls and some man, you could have stayed with me. You could have stayed. And I'm like, I get it, but it's not just me. And I'm looking out for like Melissa, who doesn't really like staying in other people's spaces, and my daughter. So I was like, oh, thanks guys. It'll be fine. Tomorrow's going to be fine. Wake up tomorrow. It is not fine. It is still cold. We have no idea what to do. We can't. So we start driving east now, because Melissa's sister lives like pretty far east, and had never been without power the whole time. So we're going to start driving east, because once again, lots of hotels, and find a hotel room in Irving. It's another Days Inn, which is where we'd stayed before. This one was marked up $40 more per night, which I was like, okay, that's fine. Can't control that, John. Just shut up and get in here.
Yep.
And we walk in, and the guy's like, hey, I just want to let you know we have rooms, but our power just came on, and if the power goes out again, we're not giving refunds. I'm like, no refunds, huh? And he goes, you kind of know what you're getting into now. And I was like, okay. So I go talk to my family, and Sharon, who's Melissa's mom, was like, I don't care. I'm paying for the rooms. Let's just go. And I was like, if you're good, let's go. And this poor woman is just so overcome. Like, she's just done with the whole thing, right? We kind of all are. And so we check in, we go get the rooms. She takes a shower, and then about an hour and a half after we'd been there, the power goes out in the hotel, the whole freaking hotel. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right. Like, how warm is it in the room? We've been running, the heater just in case. There's like a super loud heater as well. And so then I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, well, what do we do? And so then I call Al, and Al was one of the people who'd reached out the night before, and he was like, man, we have 2 extra rooms, just come hang out. And I thought that meant that they had two rooms in the house. And I was like, oh, it's fine. And now our party is 5 versus 3. Like, there's no way. But I was talking to him, and he's like, no, we have 2 extra rooms. And I was like, oh, okay. cool. And he goes, if the power goes out or anything, just call us or just come over. I was like, yeah, okay, man. Like, that's not going to happen. And then the power goes out. And I asked Melissa, I said, hey, we can go. We have someplace to go. We got roaring fire, alcohol, food, and they've not been without power the whole time. And she goes, let's go.
Yeah, that's like a Lord of the Rings moment. Like,
yeah, exactly.
The rain to the end. Oh,
God, this story is getting so long. I'm sorry. So then we go. So then we pack up everything. We go downstairs. I just popped the hatch on the 400 to put everything back in the back of the truck so we could leave, and the power comes back on in the freaking hotel. And I'm like, oh man, I'm just sitting there and I'm just like breathing. I'm just like, okay, man, breathe. Like, getting mad accomplishes literally nothing. So I said, I looked at Melissa and I was like, I will come back for your mother in the morning if she wants. I am not staying here tonight. Like,
yeah.
Totally. I'll be here at 7 a.m. tomorrow if that's what she wants. I'm not staying here tonight because it could go off again.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm with you. And thankfully everybody was. And so we all hop on the truck and we drive from Irving down to like 20 in Green Oaks, because that's where Nanette lives, and stayed there. And they made this amazing spread. We stay up until like 2:30 in the morning. Like, everybody except for me and Alice gets like drunk and kind of hungover. And so we wake up the next day, and I mean, it was so funny because I was like, man, okay, now we can relax. Now we can relax, get a little bit of work done. And the rest of my family was so nervous, just like so uncomfortable about like still being in someone else's space, right? Like Sharon and my brother-in-law and Melissa were all just kind of, and it's just a level of anxiety that I don't have to deal with, right? So I'm finally like relaxing. Like, I hadn't realized how much stress I've been carrying around with like just trying to like get us all set up and everything. And did not really want to go home because of pressure. I was like, man, if I go home, I'm just going to feel like I'm going to have to work. So sure enough, we came home in the afternoon. Power was on, heat was on, air was on, all that stuff. And got home at like 3:30 and worked until like 9 that night, in some weird way of like trying to get caught up, which I didn't do. And then, no calls for the rest of the week because I learned a lot last week. Like, some things have got to change in my business because it's way too log jammed around me. Like, it was really cool on Monday because I got up and I moved my appointments, and I had this moment of gratitude of like, A, it's cool that I've got a lot of appointments to move, and B, I'm really glad that they're my appointments and like no one's going to come and be like, hey, what are you going to do with these things? And then by like Wednesday, I was like, I'm so tired of moving appointments. What if I don't get these appointments back? Stuff like that. So
yeah,
some things need to change. That's my hero's journey for Mike Tao.
Man,
what a week.
What day did you get back home? Thursday?
Wednesday, like late afternoon, about 4:30.
So the weird thing about this particular, obviously the century storm is weird enough, right? That's oldest temperatures, I don't know, 70 something years, they said. But outside of that, the effect it had on the different areas of the Metroplex was really interesting to see. Yeah. Gerrymandering aside, just to see, I had rolling blackouts the entire time. So mine never went out fully. I had power every other hour for 30 minutes. And so it never got like frigid cold. It just got, cold for a house, like in the 50s, that sort of thing. Yeah. But, internet was out, and heat would turn off and no power. And then we were under the boil water mandate. Mm-hmm. So, so we had all that stuff. So it was more like a major nuisance than it was like some people, were like their house got in the 30s. There was like real legit, like ice crystals hanging from people's ceiling fans and stuff on social media and stuff. Yeah. So it was nuts for me to see how different everyone's kind of hero's journey was. And I know people that never lost anything.
I know, right? So my friend Travis lives in the same neighborhood that I do, but he's 2 blocks closer to all the hospitals and everything. So I just think he's on their grid. Had no power outages like whatsoever. Absolutely. Levi lives in the same neighborhood as I do as well, and he's like 2 blocks the other way from me, and had intermittent power. Like he was having some issues, but not like 3 days of it. I think our power came back on like Wednesday at about like maybe 8 or 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's so crazy because I'm like, just 24 hours, just 24 hours, just 24 hours. Okay, well, wait, like, oh, this is going to be a thing, kind of. I mean, it was,
my weird brain was like, sweet, an adventure. This is gonna be awesome. We're gonna do all sorts of strange things, and it's gonna be fun.
That's how I was on the first day. the first day of like driving around and like cold calling and cold knocking on like all these hotels, I was like, oh, this is just like a good use of the sales muscle. This will be a good piece of content. Mm-hmm. And then Tuesday morning happens, and my daughter's boyfriend's grandmother's pipes broke, and lots of pipes broke. As crazy as it is, this is a really old house that we're renting. No pipe damage whatsoever.
I was surprised. Yeah, I was super surprised.
Astounding to me.
Yeah. If you saw, I don't know if you saw Lila Smith's post, she put it on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Mm-hmm. She lives down south side of Dallas in like an apartment building, like one of those old apartment buildings. And she was up at 1 a.m. walking around, with the sirens in her face, or not sirens, the lights or whatever. And on the 5th floor of her building, a pipe broke, and it was just pouring out the side of this brick building, like looks like a waterfall, and it was freezing.
God.
And so, yeah, problems.
Yeah. I got to put the 4Runner in 4-wheel drive, which is fun. Normally I don't have to do that inside of this state.
This is why I bought it.
Man, there's this one hill here that, man, it's a brutal hill anyway, but like these cars were stuck on it, and so we just went and around it, and then whenever we got stuck, because we ran out of momentum, because it's like this big of a hill, had to kind of put it in 4-wheel drive low, and and then it was fine after that. But no sliding or really anything unmanageable in the vehicle, just no power and no heat for quite a long time, and lots of not knowing. So, but me and Alice was so dope, like just rolling with it, and nervous and anxious, but like just like, okay, what's next? What's next?
Yeah, I'm happy to say my kids were the same way. My daughter's the more anxious one, probably, in those type of situations, and mm-hmm. She did well. And then Jackson was putting on a tough face because he's 15 and a boy, so he was like, yeah, this is cool, yeah, but you can kind of see like a little bit,
yeah, for sure.
Cool. So let's shift to the work side of this.
Oh God, yeah.
I think the national media did us a huge favor, because I can tell you a lot of the stuff I had scheduled canceled for me. It was like, oh, look, y'all figure this out. We're good. Talk to you next week, probably.
Yeah.
I was like, no, like you, like, no, we're good. I'll check in with you tomorrow. Like,
yeah.
Okay. By Wednesday, I was like,
yeah. Wednesday was the day that I got up and I canceled like almost everything for the rest of the week. I was like, okay, this is not going away. I don't know what to expect, so let's just like cancel and push off everything. The hill in Texas, so 10 feet.
Probably. Yeah. There's. So I used to live in Trophy Club, and that's basically where most of the hills in this part of town are, if you will, DFW. And like the major cyclists actually go there to train, because there's, hills. They're real hills,
Yeah.
And so that's where the ex-in-laws live, and they actually never lost power. And stuff like that. And so I actually took the kids over there after the first night of, know everything. But I did not do well in my little Lexus on those hills at all. Yeah. It took me a while to get up out of the neighborhood. So
yeah, that's fair. Man, I don't really have to drive in snow a whole lot. Like I don't really consider myself like super great at it. It was easier than I thought it was going to be. In driving around between all the different hotels and trying to find the places to stay and everything. It was honestly, the 4Runner was probably the best part of the whole thing. Like it was like the one thing I did not have to freaking worry about.
Yeah. I thought about you. I was like, man, I had the Forerunner, I'd be in good shape. He's cruising around 30 hotels while I'm like, I can't leave.
Man, the sales muscle was like so strong because we're on the highway, we're driving north, and we're not even through like downtown yet. And I was like, hey, start looking like up at Western Center so that way we can see what's available and call them before we get there.
Yeah.
And I was not communicating this very well. So like Melissa's looking for like hotels like as we're driving by, and I'm like, this is not what I said, but okay, totally fine.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man. And so then it was because you try to pull it up online, and because the net is slow, and because power's out, it's taking forever, and everything is showing available until like you actually like go in there. Oh yeah, no, we're sold out, and you have to back out.
They don't have time to update their stuff.
I'm like, this is wildly inefficient. Well, because it's also marketing, right? And so you get more eyeballs by showing that you've got available rooms as opposed to like having like actual transparency, at the top level of it. And so I was like, this is wildly ineffective. So I had to start calling. And then I'm like, this is ineffective. So like we'd hop on the highway, drive up, exit, drive around, look for some stuff, get back on the highway, drive up to the next one, look around for, it is crazy.
Yeah. So what's changing this week then? Because obviously there's a lot shifted around and stuff. Like what's your week going to look like?
I mean, my week looks like a lot of planning to make sure that things change between now and the next time something like this happens. Like I've been running so much of my stuff off of like social and like DMs and everything that the calendar's full, but the calendar's only full due to like sheer effort. It's not really as dialed in and as automated. And so I've been okay with that because I like to work, right? Yeah. But part of that I like to work is now kind of like showing up as like, oh, maybe this is just something we're telling ourselves. So that way we don't have to, be as clear in our actions as we would prefer.
Yeah, what's funny is I was doing some coaching on Friday. So I had a client meeting on Friday because I had power back and everything was good. And they were like, yeah, we're available if you are. So jumped in, and one of the things he's working with is he's a photographer, and he has actually has a real estate niche. So he does media for real estate, whatnot. But he was the shooter originally, and he loves it. He loves doing photography and videography and stuff. But he's the boss, right? And he has employees now, and he's trying to book his employees and stuff. And one of the major things he knows, right, he keeps running into is, I want to get out there and do the work, but I also want to scale my business. And I know if I'm the one that has to step out and make the business run, then the business won't grow. Unless I hire a CEO, right? And to do that job. And he's like, that's not what I want to do. I want to become the CEO. And he's still shooting. I think he said 1 to 2 days a week. He's like, I've removed, I was out 5 days a week. I'm down to 1 or 2. He goes, but I can still see like in the next 3 months how that's going to completely slow me down. Because he's to that point, he's growing that fast, which is really awesome. But it brings you all the way back. When I read E-Myth when I was like 22 or something.
Yes.
Like, you can't do both. You either run the business, you work on the business, or you work in the business. And you can do both. But if you don't work on the business, you won't work in the business much, very long. Because that's all you'll ever do is just work in the business.
No, yeah. The what I learned last week is I need to really accelerate the search for like a right-hand person who I can like just kind of be like, hey, I'm going to be out today, and they have access to like the right things and they can move the meetings and stuff. The other thing that I need to do is move more of my business off of social and into email, so that we got a little bit more control. I'm not dealing with like algorithmic issues and stuff like this. So
yeah, or you get somebody who's running social, in large swaths.
That's true, but so much of my appointments are from like little bitty posts throughout the week, right? So when I go for a week without posting, the algorithm is, right, all of that stuff, right? So so last week when I was like posting about like the hotels and stuff like this, it was as much of like, hey, like let's try to maintain some momentum as far as like the algorithm goes, right, as much as it is, this is kind of ridiculous in its hilarity.
It is. I think that's one of the big situations you see entrepreneurs and small business owners dealing with as an unintended consequence of leaning so heavily on social media. There's a lot of people now that are like, I like social media, but I spend way too much time on it, and it's not even anymore like it's because I'm scrolling my feed because I'm bored. It's like I feel like I have to be there because the algorithm, or I have to be there to find more people. And like I think there's a lot of people, and that feel what you just said.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you got today, Bill?
I mean, I've already got about half my day booked back with client work, which is good. So I'm excited about that. I get to do another positioning exercise this afternoon, which I always get stoked about. Love doing that.
Nice.
And then I'm actually looking for some good illustrations for the book because I didn't get my 5,000 words, but I figured I might get away with a pass on that last week. But
I don't even remember what my bill bet was for last week, so I think we can give each other a bit of a pass.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So I did do some writing, but what I realized was there's a certain style I'm trying to build the book in, and I don't have enough of the illustrations I'm looking for to build like the type of mood for the book I really want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to be doing some research today to go out and find some good stories and illustrations to help build my point. So part of my research today. So that's what it is.
Are you okay? Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, hold on. You're going to stop writing so you can begin researching to look for like stories and things to add into the book that you've not written yet.
That was really demonstrative. Let's see. Let me see if I can back out of that real quick. I mean, man, my fist almost came up. Like,
sorry,
I'm not stopping.
Empathetic John, like just got like he's dead. He's dead in an iced over ditch last week.
He's dead. Yeah. No, I'm not stop writing.
Okay.
I'm adding a piece today where I have to pull some illustrations together that I didn't do before because I just didn't realize that I needed that for the storytelling aspect. Because as I was writing, I was like, this needs to be here. There's a story here that needs to happen that I don't have. So I need to pull something together that's going to help do that. And I think, I don't know about you, but I was actually talking to Mark Steele this weekend and somebody else who wrote a book, and how much research into a, I'm gonna call it an educational book, right? But like, we're not writing fiction. We're writing stuff about help people teach things. How much research ends up going into a book versus just you sit down and write stuff, right? There's case studies. There's different things depending on what you're writing about that you just don't realize. I probably arrogantly in the moment thought, oh, I'll come up with something as I'm writing because I have all these stories to pull from.
See, I think that's easier for me than it is for you because every sales conversation is potentially a story, like potentially and I've got stories all the way through it, like stories from my conversations and stories from like conversations of like people that I've coached. So I think I'm a little bit lucky in that situation because I wasn't really having to go research and like look for this stuff. I was just able to pull it. The other thing that, So I read this article and it was talking about why it's so easy for bands to like hit and do their first album, right? Because it's like all the music you've been playing since you started, and then you hit the sophomore slump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. So, so now I'm just a little bit nervous about getting the outline for the second book done, which is a goal for this week. So my build bet for this week is to get the book outline for the new book done. Hopefully having 3 products on the Sumo marketplace, the Sherpa sales course, the content only version of it, a LinkedIn guide, and a LinkedIn sales navigator guide. I'm going to have those up there. The other parts of my build bet is to meditate each day. I feel like I lost part of my like bandwidth earlier than I would have wanted to last week. So I'm going to try to work on that. And then the other part of my build bet is to have separate walks with Alice and Mel at different points this week, just because we've all been together like so much last week. So trying to have a little bit of date time, if you will.
Is the 3 app Sumo one separate from the finish the outline?
Yes.
Okay, so you have 4 build bets this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so part of it, like, I'm not sure about getting all 3 products onto there because I got to have a meeting with Melissa today to kind of look at 2 of them. But if those are as close to the finish line as she says that they are, then it should just be the process of creating graphics, a little bit of copy, and getting them up there. So,
Okay.
And deadlines make everything better. So,
True. I just heard logjam as one of the first words that came
yeah,
out.
man, it is right. But hopefully, if I can put these three things up on this marketplace, it'll be really, really easy. Compensate much. It should be easier for me to begin to remove the logjam because products being up in marketplaces removes the need for me to go sell said products myself.
Okay, cool. I'm going to do 5,000 words, and
Yes.
I'm going to eat. I'm getting back on a particular eating. I'm refusing to call it diet because it's not. It's a lifestyle.
It's a way of eating.
Yeah, there's a particular vegetable heavy, use it properly, like diet that I've used that I really enjoyed when I was on it. So I'm going to pick that back up this week. So I'm going to eat veggies twice a day as part of this structured out diet. And then I'm going to be doing yoga in the mornings because I did that on Saturday and it was really good. Really enjoyed it. Found a good one on YouTube. And then since I don't want to walk in 33-degree weather, I still want to be active. I'm going to use the yoga instead. So that'll be my 3 this week.
I like that. I did the walk this morning. It was 30, 35, 37 or something like that. And, it was fine. But I did have a moment of like, maybe I should do some Kung Fu or some yoga, as opposed to just doing the walks. I don't know. I need to mix that up a little bit.
Right.
Well, cool, man. Well, let's go hit our days because I got to go coach and all that stuff. Levi, you were not forgiven, sir. A Highlander and a Forerunner are not the same things. And you spelled Forerunner wrong. So.
All right. Well, we're gonna let John go hit the storm here. And
Yes. Back into the fray. Coaching, some blocking and tackling, coaching, onboarding a closer for a client, onboarding a team for a CRM, and then some blocking and tackling. That's my day-to-day. Go get it. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Levi, thanks. Mike.
Levi, Mike, Michelle, Jessica. You guys are awesome. Thanks
we'll talk less winter storm tomorrow and
yeah,
give you some useful stuff.
yeah. We can only beat this horse for like